It's here, and somewhat surprisingly out of nowhere we have a full music video and full recorded version of Memorable by BAND-MAID, a fact which, as many of you are probably aware, I am especially happy about. So let's get into unpacking this right now. Hi there and welcome back to Japan, where we have been very excited to hear a final version of this song ever since it was first kind of given an outing, a premiere on one of their live shows, which we covered as well. We did a video about that when it came out, and boy, this is really something that I have been excited about ever since first hearing that elusive version that they played live, because I've often said, as many people love the impossibly hard-rocking Maids, and this is often something that people talk about, what a great rock band they are. One of the things that I've always said my favourite thing about BAND-MAID is the fact that they're more than just that. Yes, they rock incredibly well in their core sound, but they have the ability to do variation. They're a band of skilled musicians who can do different things and can write in different styles. And often my best moments are when they prove that in songs like About Us, in songs like Page, and admittedly also in songs like Start Over, despite the music video. Great song. So I was really excited about this because this highlighted just an even better version of that, an evolved version of this particularly interesting and mature sound that they can do. So let's get into breaking down what makes this song so special. Now, I did previously talk about songwriting when we heard the premiere, but I'm just going to quickly go over the song structure again and just point out that one of the things that can't be avoided is this is an incredibly catchy song. One of the reasons I liked Page when I first heard it, and one of the reasons why that's still one of my favourite BAND-MAID songs, is because of the fact that it manages to pack such an emotional punch, but at the same time be a real infectious earworm. And people often think that's a very simplistic thing to do, and yet writing a song that can genuinely get stuck in your head without being irritated is in fact an incredibly complicated thing to do. We often say that sometimes the easiest inventions are the hardest ones to come up with, and it's very true with songs as well. A song that sounds effortless is a very difficult thing to do, and they've delivered it brilliantly here. It doesn't feel like just some sort of rip-off catchy chorus. It sounds like something that genuinely has a lot of feeling, passion, and gets stuck into your head as well. The song progresses beautifully. We have a little guitar solo thrown in here now, which is nice as well. It does what I think is true in many of Konami's best guitar solos, in that it sounds apt, it's easy to follow, it's skillful and passionate, and yet it's also quite concise. It doesn't just trail off into some self-indulgent twiddle. It just gets the feeling of the song just right and pushes you up towards that very BAND-MAID thing, which is the last chorus starting with a breakdown. Still, this is a really good example of how to do a catchy song that has a lot of emotional punch. But I've already talked about how well written this song is. I'm going to move on to some extra interesting points that we've also picked up now we've heard this final version. And one of the big ones for me is the actual recording here. Now, I've said ever since BAND-MAID moved over to Pony Canyon that one of the things that I know and like about Pony Canyon is that they tend to know what their artists are. They tend not to, from my experience, interfere with the artist so much, but allow the artist to be themselves. Now, as much as Page is one of my favourite songs, it came off of an album that, and again, I really love the production of the album Conqueror. I just felt that sometimes there was a little bit of a problem with the mix. The mix sounded too flat a lot of the time. It didn't really have much life. Here, I really felt that the musicianship was beautifully shown by the way it was recorded. All the instruments sounded very full. It's sometimes difficult to do that when you've got a lot of sounds and you have to EQ them so they all fit and have their distinct places in the EQ, where each instrument can pop out in a certain frequency and has its own clarity. But when you've got a song like this, where it's quite sparse, it's quite big, it's not big electric guitars, it's big in that it's got lots of little individual sounds. You can really hear the drum kit sounds nice and full here. The guitars, I love the fact that when you can hear the hands moving along the neck of the guitar, hearing that acoustic sound where you just hear a little slide, the sound, love it. Again, my vocal representations of sound, perfect. It was just very nice to hear the band, you have that what I call tangible sound, where you can really feel the contact with the drum kit, the contact of the hands on the guitar strings, where everything comes across in that very human way. You can't do that so much with a rock song where you've got a lot of distortion, where you've got a lot of big sounds. But a song like this, it's important to give it that distinct flavour where it feels tangible, it feels real, it feels right in front of you. And I think they did that well, maybe getting some hints from their own acoustic live performances that were received so well by the fans. bands. But yes, for me, it's really important to point out that the mix and the production allowed this song to come through, allowed it to sound human, and allowed it to sound very personal, which was so important to getting the feeling of the song across. Now the video as well, I have to give some credit for this because it was really clear how they did this. This was kind of like a zero budget while we're in America kind of thing, I'm assuming. We had some footage from a live show which was nicely cut in, and then a little bit of footage of Miku walking through the desert, seemingly. Yeah, slow motion walking, that's a typical Japanese thing for music videos. I just really like the way they did it though. It was nice colour palette, nicely filmed, interspersed with the performance stuff from the live show. It just felt good, you know, they didn't try to sort of weigh it down by putting some unnecessary plot line in there, which can be good, but when you're trying to do a video on a limited budget, why waste time with that kind of extravagance, you know, and end up with doing another start over video. Anyway, yeah, I just thought it was well done, well filmed. It nicely played with the atmosphere. I can't imagine what it must have felt like if you were just driving randomly through the desert and just randomly you come across a maid there. Just Japanese maid walking through the desert. I'm making a music video, leave me alone. But, you know, just the whole feeling, it was weird and it shouldn't have worked, but it did. And I think a lot of that came down to the, apart from the fact that it was nicely filmed, good colour palette, good cutting, not too many lingering shots, even though there was a lot of slow-mo, it wasn't too many lingering shots. They just had some nice imagery in there, cut it with the live performance enough that it both felt like a proper music video, but also had the energy of seeing the live band in there. It was nice. It was a good example of how to do a tasteful video that has enough visual identity, and yet at the same time also feels like a proper music video and overcomes an obvious total lack of budget. So I thought this was a good complimentary music video that I'm glad they put in. So in conclusion, I really like this. I really like this. And obviously, I always give extra praise for these songs, and it's not that I don't love what BAND-MAID do at their core sound, it's just that this is what, for me, this is the kind of thing that makes BAND-MAID more than any of their peers. This is the thing that sets them apart, is the ability to do a song like this and it not to sound like some contrivance, not to sound like something that they just did to show off or did because they felt they had to or wanted to experiment with, but it didn't quite work. They've done it and it's delivered well. In fact, some of their best songs are the ones where they go outside of their core sound, and they've just hammered that home here. It has the catchiness of their most catchy songs. It has a sort of musical honesty that goes sort of into the realms that we only usually hear from their acoustic work because you can hear it so clearly. It has the, like, just the emotional punch that you often only get from songs like Page, which are those sort of more slowed down, thoughtful ones. It is a song that just really excels at everything it does, and I've got to be honest, although I've completed in the last year, I think it was, I did my top 25 BAND-MAID songs and the whole process around that. This is, I think, pretty certainly going to find its way into the top 10 when I eventually revise that list. We'll see how it goes. They've had so many songs come out recently. I absolutely just adore this. I know there's going to be people saying, oh, Howard, you like anything that sounds pop? No, I like anything that works. And this just works. I love them as a hard rock band, but do you know what? Sometimes the best stuff they do is stuff like this. And it's brilliant. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. As always, get in the comments. Tell me what you think. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for my next one of these, for now, ciao, ciao.